Hey y'all. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? Bree. Hey Stacy. Hey Virginia. You just got on break. The song is Give Me Your Lovin' by Ubi. Ubi. I'm so happy to see Ubi getting her just due, getting her 10s. Ubi is actually I think she's from Atlanta. A singer from the early 2000s. I know she used to sing with like Lil Jon and the East Side Boys. She's the one who sings There's Something I Gotta Tell You. My voice is gone, y'all. I'm hoarse, so excuse me. I struggle to croon that note out. Y'all know I got Taurus in the 8th house. I stay with a throat infection. I stay losing my voice. It's always some tea. So I can tell y'all I have to tap into my lower register of my Tony Braxton candy voice. Every man wants a woman in order to stay heard. Hey, Tully. What did I do yesterday? Yesterday was pretty fun. I actually hung out with some of my homegirl. She invited me out. And you know what I'm saying? We did some things. I be thinking that I'm young and tired until I be trying to like actually be in the throes of being young and tired. And it's not that I'm not young still, it's just I realize that I'm not as young as I used to be. All my 30-something girlies, if you are watching this, you already know what that's giving. But, you know, I hope y'all been living y'all lives. I've been living mine and trying to, you know, address some like personal things and just get myself together. And so I appreciate y'all joining me on this live, this live stream. Press the thumbs up button while you are here. Yeah, the 30s are different. And I think I had a delayed response to being 30 because now I've almost completed like my Saturn return. I'm approaching the end. And it's I see the ways in which it's changed my thinking. You know, even looking at it in a non-judgmental way, because Saturn as a planet, right, is all about reshaping like what you want for the future. Like the seriousness of your life kind of does amp up, you know, in terms of just how you've approached things or what you want. You know, you get more experience under your belt. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of things that kind of you start looking at it differently. You know, Saturn deals with time. And you spend a lot of time wondering what you're gonna do with your time. And that's the space I've been in. For those of y'all who have been through your Saturn return, or if you are going through your Saturn return, let me know like how y'all feel about that. Like, what's your experience been? I know my Saturn Pisces girlies and guys, y'all up next. We finna tag y'all in. It's been real. Saturn in Aquarius. We out this bitch. Now, when Saturn is in Pisces, I'll do an upload on Saturn in Pisces. Actually, that'll be a different video. I'll do a standard video for Saturn in Pisces. We're gonna keep the scope of this live stream about like it's just been a lot of things going on, trending news. And I was like, it's so many videos, so many celebrity chart readings that I would like to do, that I've gotten requests to do. DMs, thank y'all very much. You planted the seed. So it's some things it's several charts I would like to discuss today. Pluto transits can be both good and bad. All transits can be good and bad. And really it depends on you know, what it's doing for you. Like where transiting Pluto is, in your chart, how it's aspecting your chart, that kind of thing. Your other planets, so to speak, what house is placed in. But with Pluto in Aquarius, it's a lot of things are going to be different. A lot of things are going to change in ways like just as a society. And Pluto is more, of course, you have how it impacts you on a personal level, but just from a collective standpoint, a society as we know it at large could be down to completely change, And honestly, it's something that's been a long time coming, because when you think about the fact that this is like post-COVID, we've kind of been primed for everything that we know to kind of change drastically, Tech is taking over. Like I said, that's these are different. We can do the transits, transit videos, placement videos on a different day, because that's the whole situation. So I'm gonna give y'all a couple more minutes to trickle in, and then we can go ahead and get started with the first chart for real. I'm just ready to start working for a living, child. Ain't we all? Well, I'm a Capricorn North Node, so that's not in the cards for me. But I definitely understand the feeling. Do a read on Gabby, and D Wade. They don't belong together. Why you say that, Brie? Saturn and Pisces in the 5th house at the 5th degree coming up. Yeah, it's. I mean, put you to the test. That's for sure. That could even deal with you like being single for a minute. I don't know if you're single right now, but that could be being single for a minute, or engaging in like anytime you do want to date, it'll be like really disappointing. But on the other end, this could be some time where you could really like, especially when it comes to your love life, you'll have the time and space to really get yourself together, or the opportunity to really get yourself together, to gather a lot of much needed experience for dealing with that part of your life. Maybe like, blessings in disguise type vibes. And you can't be afraid to get down and dirty. You can't be afraid to get your hands dirty with that Saturn return too. That with Saturn and Pisces is all about like shortcuts. And I mean, Saturn as a planet, which requires the most of us, which requires, work and diligence and discipline. That Saturn and Pisces is not so great. And it can really test it tests your ability to be able to overcome or get out your own way and get things done for yourself. Or even to want to figure out what that is. Like if you have Saturn return in your 5th house of Pisces, that could be you being very confused about what it is you want to do. And so the tone that's been set for your Saturn return is figuring out your purpose, trying to figure out your purpose in life, trying to figure out what makes you happy. All those things are 5th house matters. Figuring out what you want out of love, maybe sacrificing something, encountering some type of disappointment. And usually when Saturn is in Pisces, a lot of disappointments that these people experience is due to a lack of discernment. So what's being real versus what's not, what's real, what's not. These are themes that are going to be brought into question, even on a collective level. But like I said, that's a different video. I'm going to make an actual upload for Saturn and Pisces. So yeah. I missed y'all though. I felt that she was bad. Difference in effect of Saturn transit on a day chart versus a night chart. Well, I will say, Saturn transits in general. I mean, when I talk about day charts and night charts, in my opinion, night charts or people who are born at night typically, when it comes to like the changes in their life, they live more faded lives, I guess is what I'm saying. So, and with Saturn being such a faded planet, I mean, possibly it could impact them in a certain type of way, but I don't at the end of the day, I really don't think things like that matter. I don't think having a day chart versus a night chart is something, the differences would be something that would be substantial, because it just depends on what those charts look like. Like, I feel like that's kind of too general, if that makes sense. But it's been said that people with night charts live more faded lives, though, for what it's worth. But y'all feel free to kind of think what you want about it. Yeah, so Gabby wants she wants a biopic. Well, I hope she don't play her, because she played the same role. Like, she typecasted so bad, she'll probably be the mean girl in her own biopic. Y'all know, what's her name? Gabrielle Union. She always does that, like, snarky. I'm the snarky, like, successful young Black woman. Whose professional life is on point, but her love life needs a little work. Saturn 12th house transits can have some overlapping similarities to a Saturn Pisces transit. But it still could be felt differently, because you still have to account for the sign placement, its aspects. Hey, Temperance Call. How you doing, babe? Which Scorpio you like better, Gabrielle Union or Nia Long? From what I see, because I don't know Nan, Amni, and one of them, obviously, from what I see, I would say I don't really know. I don't know what to think. And that's because with Scorpios, you don't really know what to think. Scorpio, which is no coincidence that it's one sign over from Libra. And Libra is that sign that deals with, presentation, or, like I said, even PR, making things look good. That's the business that Libra is in. So when you move one sign over, into Scorpio, it still has a lot of that energy signature to it, but it's usually, it's not uncommon for a lot of Scorpios to kind of like hold things in. These are people who could be very mysterious, hard to figure out. Sometimes it's something that they do on purpose, other times it's not. And I can see the case for that being made for each one of these women. Well, maybe not so much Gabby, but definitely Nia Long. Definitely Nia Long. Because I don't really, it's like I've seen interviews of her. I don't really know much about her. However, I know like things that people say, like, a lot of people have said that she's a bitch and this and that. And Nia is actually, she has a lot of Scorpio energy. She's like a Scorpio stellium, South Node, Sun, and some more shit. So, you know, Scorpio does really good at concealing things. Libra makes shit look good. Scorpio does good at like concealing or controlling. And it's usually a sign of like power and strength. And, you know, that's why Scorpios tend to be some of the strongest people. But they can also be people who, they don't play they always play a very close hand or tight to the chest, tight to the body. You never really know what's going on. Or they spend a lot of time trying to figure out what's going on with other people. But I digress. I digress. She does remind me of Sierra in that sense too. And I feel like that's something that Scorpio has in common with Pisces because, however, Pisces is more susceptible to probably like get found out about. Like if we're talking two people in terms of like secrets, you know what I'm saying? The eighth house naturally can deal with secrets in the sense that things that are taboo, right? That people don't want to talk about, or things that are underhanded or that is outside of the scope of like what's even normal, what's accepted, what we see. And then the 12th house is like, also secrets and things that are kind of stored away. I just think you put them in two different placements because, it's been said that the eighth house is more so of the basement. And the 12th house, I would say the 12th house is like, the attic is the ninth house. I don't know, maybe the 12th house would be like the pool in the backyard type shit, maybe. Or the day room. But anywho, anywho, but Scorpios do a better job at like keeping that shit under wraps or playing their hands. All right, so let's just go ahead, not the shed in the backyard. So let's just go ahead and get started. So I actually wanted to start with JT from the City Girls. Okay, so there is an interview that JT had with Angie Martinez. And basically in this interview, it just it was a really nice reintroduction to JT. And I guess the scope of it was to really discuss who she is, where she is at this stage in her life, reflect on her career, and kind of, the questions were asked in a way that you could tell was trying to get people to understand who she is on a more personal level and to kind of counter a lot of the narratives of her being a bitch or her being this, her being that, And I wanted to look at her natal chart and see how a lot of the things she spoke to, a lot of her answers, a lot of the interview in and of itself, played up different parts of her natal chart. And I want to like discuss and draw correlations because that's what we do. That's what we do. That's what we do here. Okay, so I'm pulling up her information. JT birthday. I know she's a Sagittarius sun. Yeah, December 3rd. The number 3 is ruled by Jupiter as well. So she has that super sad shit going on. And she is from Miami. All right, and then I'm going to share my screen. So give me just a second. Hey, Asia. All right. Let me know if y'all can see it, if y'all can see the chart in the chats. Have y'all seen Summer Walker? Sis is going through it. Why? Because she how she looked at that like dance hall party. My thing was, I feel like people were going in on Summer unnecessarily because you could tell she was trying to emulate, like it was a dance hall party. And if I mean, I'm not Jamaican, but what I do know about dance hall is that, I mean, no offense to my Jamaicans out there, but like y'all dress kind of tacky a little bit. So it or like more festive. You know what I'm saying? Like that tacky kind of look is very dance hallish, or it can be translated as tacky according to like American. Let's say it like that. Like on this side of the diaspora, you know what I'm saying? It's a little different. So it's a different look. It's a different vibe. Like the poom poom shorts with the tights and the this and the that. You know, Jamaicans be real flamboyant, baby, but sometimes it gives kind of like tacky or kind of, but that's dance hall vibe. So it was a dance hall party. So I thought even the wig, like how they wear that. Look at very early Ice Spice. This was early Ice Spice material. So I didn't, I mean, not Ice Spice, y'all. Spice. Ice Spice is how can I lose when I'm already chose? The what's the other one? Whatever the dance hall lady. Lord, I got my you know what I'm talking about. If y'all know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Point is, I feel like y'all was doing a little bit too much on Summer. Even though Summer is annoying, I think she's kind of annoying when she is being overly opinionated. But you know, I'm like, what do y'all want from her? Okay, so you know what I'm talking about, T Thompson. I'm Jamaican, definitely some tacky dress style for sure, especially in the 90s to early 2000s. Spice. Okay, yeah. Spice, Ice Spice. Like, yeah. Same difference. Um, yes, it looks afflicted. Okay. So, JT. So JT, once again, born December 3rd, 1992. Okay, in Miami, Florida. This places her son at the 11th degree of Sagittarius. Okay, and we don't know her time of birth, so you're gonna take this house placement with a grain of salt because I honestly and truthfully do not know her ascendant sign unless she is into that and has disclosed that information, or unless it's somewhere like a time of birth is somewhere. Feel free to drop it in the chat or the comment section if you're watching this on the playback. Okay. But you know, as a Sagittarius sun, I will say the way that in which she lives up to her sun placement to me is definitely, I mean, for women, the sun in your chart is almost always going to be the men in your life. So, husbands, boyfriends, um, you know, amongst other things. So her taste in men is definitely quintessential Sagittarius. I always talk about how Sagittarius can deal with this kind of universal rock star kind of thing. Sagittarius likes, very similar to Aquarius, because Aquarius can like things that are different, and a lot of those keywords like unique and eccentric and electrifying and magnetic and captivating. Whereas Sagittarius is very similar, but it's more so things that they feel like other people wouldn't have, or things that are foreign to them. that are different to them because they're trying to figure stuff out, and that's why it's not uncommon for a lot of Sagittarians to date outside of their race, outside of their culture. But also just people who could just be downright, like I said, like rock stars are just different. Something about them that's just different. They find a lot of excitement. And that's a lot of that is a fire sign thing too, needing like excitement and passion and fun. And it's, so, and when I look at her relationship with Uzi, that kind of makes sense because it's a relationship where he definitely gives like emo grunge rock kid, and people were so taken aback at the pairing because she's such a hood girl. She's giving like I'm a girl from around the way. I'm a hood girl, rapper, trapper, scammer, and he may be, the same, but he definitely gives you, rocker boy, different vibe, different aesthetic than what you probably think she would go for. But that's Sagittarius. Also something else I thought was kind of interesting. She's a Pisces moon, right? Now, as is Carisha, actually, so that was interesting. But when the moon is in Pisces, depending on how your moon is aspected, moon in Pisces could set you up for a very spoiled, plush kind of lifestyle where one is like taken care of. I've even seen like a lot of sheltered people or people who could have grown up sheltered with the moon in Pisces, or a life where neglect, loss could be very dominant. I see runaways with the moon in Pisces. It just depends on how your moon is aspected. In JT's case, she has her moon squaring her node. So she is a part of that Gemini South Node generation that came out like that wave of the early 90s. Okay. And so her moon squaring that Gemini South Node could speak to her not having a solid home base. And it's so weird because in the interview, she spoke to the fact that her mother was an addict. Pisces, especially the moon in Pisces specifically, can also speak to growing up in a family where addiction could have been a problem, and that also makes sense even in the sense of like neglect, right? Because if you have a mother who's an addict, who struggles with drugs, things of that nature, you probably are neglected. It could deal with having a mother who's sick, who's ill. But also moon in Pisces could be like having a mom who just relies on you way too much, or vice versa. A mooch. And that was interesting too, because JT was saying that now that she is, she's a successful adult making all this money, her mother is, she kind of like really leans into that very heavy, even despite the fact that she wasn't around when she was growing up. She just kind of assumes like JT's gonna pay for everything. Like she'll go somewhere, order a whole bunch of stuff, and be like, "Oh yeah, my daughter is a rapper. She's a city girl." And that could be very moon in Pisces, not knowing your boundaries, not knowing limits, taking someone for granted, taking advantage of someone, or someone who is accustomed to being taken advantage of. A lot of Pisces moons, very similar to Virgo moons, can experience homelessness. And with this moon squaring her Gemini South Node, that could deal with where JT really went around sleeping from place to place, where she probably changed addresses, I would be surprised if she did not change schools multiple times. With this moon Gemini South Node square. Where her life was not stable growing up, where, even where her mom was just kind of like absentee to the point where, the streets kind of raised her. Gemini deals with the city. So like that literally is the makings of a city girl, because you you know, you weren't protected from that. You weren't being cared for properly. So I thought that was interesting. What else we got? She also has the same moon in Pisces squaring her north node. Now that could deal with her going to jail, herself getting in trouble with the law. She did mention everybody or a lot of people in her family went to jail, which is also very a moon in Pisces. But you know, she herself ended up going to jail for scamming, also very moon in Pisces. And I thought this was a very interesting overlap with Carisha, right, aka Young Miami, who is also a Pisces moon, and this manifested for her and her mother going to jail for scamming or something that had something to do with that, like scamming, stealing, you know, very much Florida people teens. Like, I feel like you're talking about me. I have the same placements plus my Sag ascendant, so my moon is squaring my ascendant as well as North Node and Sag. Oh, so you have those same placements. Yeah, so you know, for you, as well as JT, and you know, it shows up in differently in everyone's lives, you know, but yeah, that is definitely an aspect that her moon square her nodes would have to have been like the most um you know, like defining aspect that she has in her chart that contributed to, you know, a lot of even that trauma and a lot of the stuff that she's been through, right? She also has her Mars at the 27th degree of Cancer. That right there could also create like issues with family, conflict with family. Honestly, she may even be somebody who's like hard to live with. Uh Shit. Even when we talk about the moon, that Pisces moon squaring her south node, like it gives me like you can't trust her, but like, or maybe to be fair, she was in a situation like that. Like, if she were to live with somebody, you know, like stealing your stuff coming up missing, that square to her south node also kind of it creates that more crafty nature that some of these people could have when we talk about the moon in Pisces and that Gemini south node square. So for you, Astro Girl Quay, I don't know if you know, I don't know how that shows up for you, but for some of these people, they can be easily tricked or gooped, or it could be the opposite. You know, these could be people who can, especially if they, you know, are around certain people, can live certain lifestyles. So yeah, where you are willing and dealing and scamming and, you know, doing it. She said something about her doing scams where she would get in the car and drive out of town, which is also a testament to her um you know, moon, that Pisces moon squaring her nose as well. Both that Gemini South node and that Sagittarius North node. I haven't done a synastry reading on her, Young Miami. I might do that and upload that to Patreon. That sounds like some nice Patreon content. Yeah, it can get hectic for me, but I try to have as much discernment as possible. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Um, what else stood out? Did anybody watch the interview? I would play it, but I don't want to get copyrighted or anything of that nature. Okay. But yeah, not to mention the moon square in the nose is just it's so much like a karmic debt involving the mother, involving your own family and your personal life. You know, like almost I feel like she could feel like her mom is like, I don't know, like trapping her, or like not trapping, maybe it's not the best word, but like where she just feels like something about the relationship with her mom is maybe it feels suffocating, or it's something that's keeping you from being, the best version of yourself, or it could also deal with like somebody being in denial about something involving, a parent, their mother specifically, really. So let me see what else her moon. Her moon is forming a quincunx to Chiron, so that Chiron in Leo. So that could deal with her mom being very, almost even like abusive too, like where she might throw temper tantrums, or where like JT does spoil her so much, especially now that she's rich, where like, because the quincunxes could also deal with where you have to help somebody too, or figure something out, like where the mom probably got bad credit, or done fucked off on some money and she in a bind, and JT got to bail her out type shit. But her moon is also sextile in Venus and Capricorn, so that provides the potential for JT and her mother's relationship to get better over time as she ages. And it'll probably be more from a friend standpoint. You think your mom was not delusional. You see it relate with your mother. Isn't a Maria Sinistry? Okay. You think they mess around in the past and Fizz is secretly they said, I can't let go. I can't get over you. Can Moon Sextile Venus make somebody a good singer too? I've never heard JT sing before, but she could have a good voice. I mean, it could, but not only just a good singer. It could just even deal with somebody having a lot of like maybe even musical. You could have some musical aptitude or be a strong music lover. That's a good creative aspect. So it could lend itself towards music, absolutely. Art, interior design, you know. Even like with fashion. Mm. So yeah, there's that. I'm trying to see what else. She also has that Mercury Pluto conjunction in Scorpio. That and considering her also being a Gemini South node could explain her family and stuff being involved in, like, maybe the streets, criminal activity, illegal activity. It could also even deal with where stuff like that probably even kind of like tempted her anyway. And I will say, as Sagittarius, we like fast money. Sagittarius can get really enamored with, like, things the easy way, that idealism. So a Sagittarius will buy into something where it's like, even if it seems like it's too good to be true type shit. Like, you mean all I gotta do is this, and this, and I can get this? That is so Sagittarius. And I could see that being one of like the selling points for JT, scamming and everything. And I think she even spoke to that a little bit. But yeah, so then Mercury squaring Chiron. So yeah, just all that very dysfunctional for one's personal life, family life, but she was able to make something out of it, which is good. Because she definitely has that Capricorn stellium working in her benefit. Venus, Neptune conjunction, that could even be her always being with a dude, always being with the dude who's able to take care of her. This could have played out in the other direction where she could have had a dude like mooching off of her, but she probably dated like older men with her Venus and Capricorn. Now, granted, she's like a few years older than Uzi, but when Venus is in Capricorn, age like a noticeable or a substantial age difference could be dominant or like a prominent theme. But a lot of that is kind of what helped create that city girl mentality too. Venus Neptune conjunctions are like princess treatment. That's like your partner doing everything for you, especially when it comes to money. Her Venus is even conjoined to Uranus as well. So that could even be her taking somebody else's man. And where she feels entitled to it too. Like if you Venus Uranus conjunctions it's giving you my nigga. So act like you my nigga. What's T? Aries South No mothers are the worst creatures on earth. Oh wow. Well, they should both be happy since they both got rich niggas. Most Scorpios look like vampires. Hell no, not vampires. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. But I will say that Mars and Cancer, she needs to be careful with that. I don't care how great the PR is for her and Uzi. I know Uzi is a woman abuser. He's an abuser. He punched his ex-girlfriend in the stomach, which is very Mars and Cancer. Cancer rules the stomach. Mars is, fighting, blows. A lot of Cancer Mars women can find themselves involved with men who are very abusive. Chris Brown is a Cancer Mars, to put that into perspective, or men who have a hard time controlling their feelings, or who can have a hatred for women, or at least he treats you like he hates you, or where you just take a lot of shit from them, They can be really like inconsiderate but these women, they take a lot of stuff. They can take a lot of shit from their man. It's just interesting, that's all. You're a Cancer Mars too, but you was raised right. Or you have the Cancer Mars men who are very, very in tune. You got the ones who could be more so of the womanizers. It may not be like overt violence, but you also have the ones who know women a little too well. A Cancer Mars man can run through some women, for sure. For sure. Or yeah, pimps. Or they can be very effeminate. They can have a very like and it doesn't have to be in the sense that you're gay. I mean, you could or could not be. But for what it's worth, I do see Mars and Cancer. That could be like a homosexual indication. Of course, there would be other indicators needed, but it could be. But it could also just be a man that's very in tune with, his own femininity a little bit too much, Like a dude could be kind of catty. I love you, Tuli, but you got horrible representation out in these streets. The PR for Mars and Cancer be failing y'all every single time. Okay, wanting to be baby, very Mars and Cancer. Okay. She ain't got to pay bills or nothing. Okay. I know a Gemini man with the Cancer Mars. He was a ladies' man for sure. Oh my God. Then you mix the Gemini, the indifference that Gemini brings. You're French toast. Meaning like anybody who's dealing with somebody like that. It's the Cancer Gemini combo for me. You have a ton of lesbian aspects, sassy males for sure. All right, let's move along. So next on the docket, we have Cardi. Playboy, I want to choke a pregnant woman out, Cardi. Now, I know that Playboi Carti has these kind of, and this is what I envision his fan base to be like, either teenagers or like young 20 somethings, borderline incels. His fan base is very misogynistic. I remember hearing about the way they treated Rico Nasty when she opened up for him or she toured with him. And Rico Nasty is a very talented kind of underground alternative like rap girly and very talented, but they treated her horribly. Like they booed her on stage, everything. His fan base has made excuses for his behavior for so long. And even though we may not like the messenger, the message about him has been consistent and it's been very clear. Okay, Iggy Azalea, the Australian girl who, had a little run back in like 2014, 15, right? Her whole thing was the accent, like putting on her best Black American like cadence, like whatever the fuck. She had a baby with him, and she said that while she was in the delivery room, pushing with her ass in the air, tooted. She said this man was playing the game with little Uzi. As in Cardi, Playboy Carti, instead of being with the woman who is bringing like new life into the world, and welcoming your seed onto the planet on their first birthday, technically. He's playing the game with Lil Uzi. And I knew then that is a trash ass nigga with little integrity, little character, very low morals, questionable morals. And so I mean to hear that he's choking he's choking a pregnant woman. Not like it doesn't, it's sad, but it doesn't surprise me. Then I realized he was a Virgo, and y'all, Virgo mutable signs in general all have this kind of unpredictable quality. Like you can't really put anything past a mutable sign because mutable signs are very unpredictable people. It just depends on the situation. Things can go any which way and nothing is off limits. And that's why there is a very strong correlation between serial killers and mutable signs. Like I always talk about, different video for a different day. So, even with him being a Virgo, I was like, oh, okay, makes sense. So let me pull his chart up. September 13th, 1996. I think he's from Atlanta. Oh, he's from Riverdale. Interesting. Okay, Riverdale. He's from the South Side. Okay, so let me share my screen. Give me just a second. Oh, can y'all see it? Hey, Ellie. By the way, so Chris Brown really held a lady at gunpoint. I mean, even when you think about that Cancer Mars, Mars deals with guns, Cancer deals with women. And that could literally be shooting a woman. That could be causing harm or violence, beating a woman. That could be domestic situations. They said he held a woman. He put out the fire on a woman in his home. You know, having all these women in and out your house and shit going on. That correlates with it too. Very fitting. Now, cardinal signs like to take control of whatever situation they in. Cardinal signs like to take control over what situation they in. So this could be if you're fighting with somebody, you know, the people who like to storm off, or the people where, you know, they'll like to, you know, they may want to like cut you off, or, you know, nip the situation in the butt, cut things out, end it on their terms. But if they can't do that, then they'll spaz. And then thick signs are more they brew and they stew. So it could be something that could have been a problem, an ongoing problem, you know, something that's been bothering them for a long time. And then all of a sudden they lose control. It bubbles over to a situation comes about that just blows everything out the water. A man with no character is nothing. Giving birth to a child is a very traumatic experience for any woman to go through. You are a disgusting piece of shit if you abandon a woman and her child. I agree wholeheartedly, Elizabeth. Hey Jasmine, I'm glad. Oh, you back on live. I hope you're doing well. I am, and I hope you're doing well too, Bookie. Yes, they were throwing all type of objects at her. Yeah, masculine presenting trans men is my weakness. Okay, so yeah, so let's start with Mr. Playboi Carti. Okay, so Cardi has a lot of there are a lot of clues in his chart that points towards him being violent towards women, and one of the first ones and the main ones that stood out to me, number one, he has this conjunction, this Venus Mars conjunction in Leo. Now, this Venus Mars conjunction in Leo could manifest in a couple of different ways. Number one, this could be indicative of a person, especially a man, or like if in a man's chart, who he is very much fixated on other men. And you can kind of do what you want with that. I mean, Venus also deals with friends, right? So when Venus and Mars conjoin to one another, especially with Venus at the 7th degree, it's almost like he may be somebody who spends a lot of time with his friends. Very male, like, you know, one of those guys who are like a man's man. But, you know, depending on how you want to translate it, you do see certain Venus Mars contact, especially like even the squares, the oppositions, the conjunctions, where in some cases it can deal with a guy who may not even like women like that. Like it could be a dude who much more prefers other men, you know, and this could be sexually, but this could also be, I mean, I ain't gonna cap. It could be it could be sexually. Which is cool, but it's just interesting because a lot of the dudes who are like this don't really introduce themselves as this. You know, you like hurt the fuck out of a woman in the process instead of just living your life. which I find to be odd. But that Venus Mars conjunction in Leo could also deal with somebody who has a hard time entertaining people, like criticism, taking criticism, entertaining people who are not like them, people or women who don't give them attention. Like this could give him a lot of narcissistic traits and tendencies when it comes to women. You know, lots of drama in relationships, always got something going on. Drama with kids. I wouldn't be surprised if some women then came out and said he didn't got me pregnant, or that kind of thing. That's the type of these are men who may even like think with their dick. They go wherever the attention goes, or they collect women that they feel like are going to make them look good. And a lot of times they're very selfish in relationships and even abusive, with that Mars quality, the Mars introduced into the equation. And a lot of times it's done to like intimidate, a lot of Leo Mars individuals like to intimidate people. That's their tactic. That's their strategy. And it can be physical, aggressive intimidation, with the conjunction to Mars like that. That also just deals with him being a player, that's where he gets his name from. That Venus conjunction, that Venus Mars conjunction in Leo, that's his name right there. And I thought that was so interesting because Mars in astrology can point towards our names, what we call ourselves, how we identify. So that Venus Mars conjunction in Leo, Leo deals with children, or even him being childish, him calling himself Playboi Carti because he's a child. And that's how he governs relationships. Himself in relationships was fun. Fucking with this girl, fucking with that one. I'd rather play the game. Think about it. This nigga was playing video games with another nigga while his child was born. That's very Venus Mars conjunction in Leo. Very much so. So I thought that was interesting. I thought that was very interesting. But yeah, they could also deal with where he could be very abusive to women. That's an abusive aspect. It can be very much so. Then I'm pulling up his asteroids because he does have an asteroid that I thought was very telling as well, and that is Toro. He has the asteroid Toro conjoined to his Mars. Now, once again, Mars can deal with our temper, our anger, and Toro is one of those asteroids that quite literally deals with abuse. It can deal with the person who's too aggressive, too forceful. Maybe they have anger problems, but it could also be abuse. And the fact that it's conjoined to his Mars, right, says a lot. It's like a person who does not know how to control himself. Also, like having temper tantrums like a little baby, but his temper tantrums can be violent outbursts. So taking it back to the thing involving the pregnant women, right? Once again, it's some drama involving kids, baby daddy, baby mama, baby. But her saying, well, I don't know what they said happened. Something like he got mad the child was his or it wasn't his. I don't know. But he could have been very demanding. And the minute she doesn't, or a woman doesn't meet his demands or whatever, you throw a temper tantrum, and that means cause a harm to her. That means cause a harm to her. Y'all thumbs up this video, by the way. Thumbs up this video. Thumbs up this video. Man child. He is a man child. Have you done a Rocky and Rihanna? No. I can definitely add that to the list. He just needs to come out and says what he truly likes sexually. That could just also make him very, very flamboyant. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, I mean, because that could also make him very kind of. It can give him an effeminate flair too. But like I said, he Venus square Mars, man, maybe even Venus Mars. I think with Venus, that Venus Mars conjunction, it could even be more so of him wanting to be the girl or wanting to dominate the girl in the relationship, wanting to be the prize. Okay, so yeah, that I mean, honestly, especially after that Toro Mars conjunction, I kind of seen everything I needed to see. To be quite honest, that was like hook, line, sinker. Okay, so this nigga is very like he can't control himself. He's crazy. But going back to his charts, he does have Moon in conjunction to Mercury. That could be a man who also very much runs through women. Okay, especially with him being a Libra Moon, he has a Libra um, Mercury conjunction. His Mercury is at the 28th degree of Virgo, so that could even be him being in these like keeping rotating through different women, but keeping like the same type of women around. Like where he's never really satisfied with the women that he keeps in his life. Where I can see him bitching and nagging and always taking issue with them, feeling like they don't do shit right. He also has his moon in opposition to Saturn. That's definitely control. Not to mention he's an Aries South node. That's another one. When you put that into the context of that Venus Mars conjunction, once again, very telling. A lot of Aries South nodes from a karmic level have whether it be past life experience or just a lot of tendencies to be very violent. It's issues with impulse control. It's like I said, being hateful. In this lifetime, he needs to understand women more. But sometimes, like I said, I think this could even manifest in a man wanting to be the woman. So, take that however that applies for him. But you know what I'm saying? But where he is very like domineering, very disagreeable, maybe even very cruel. Like that's you know, and once again, if he has to get violent, he's gotta get violent. That's like getting cold on a bitch type of that's also like a domestic, a domestic situation for sure. His moon in opposition to that, his South Node and even the Saturn in Aries. And that's how you run into a lot of legal problems with Libra on the North Node. So he needs to be careful. Cause what are we even talking about? So yeah, that's and you know who else? His chart is very similar to Psy Baby's. And y'all know I love me some Psy Baby, but Psy Baby is also that Aries South Node, Saturn conjoined to the South Node, opposing his moon, his Libra moon, and that shit make me a little nervous, very nervous actually. That could also create a guy who just who could use women, exploit women for his personal gain. Like some real true blue abusers. Like if a client brought her boyfriend's chart to me and his chart looked like this, I would have to tell the truth. He has his moon square in Jupiter. That could be a man who has a hard time with just keeping one girlfriend, one woman, one household. But his Jupiter is at the 7th degree of Capricorn. I wonder if he got with Iggy Azalea for clout. Because you got to keep in mind, I mean, she's kind of a non-factor now, but she was not always a non-factor. Kanye West is ratchet as fuck. Couldn't Chiron and Libra make him potentially abuse women and give them emotional trauma by playing mind games? Not necessarily. Well, Libra is can be very strategic, but it more so could definitely speak to harming women, literally harming women in the literal sense, because Chiron deals with wounds, and not just emotional wounds or trauma, but like injury. But it more often with Chiron, you hurt people in that same area because that's a place that you were hurt. So it's like literally like who hurt you doesn't justify it, but it's literally like who hurt you, like who hurt you. Then he has his Chiron forming a semi-square to Pluto. It's like where he is like he has to have the upper hand in these relationships. He has to have the upper hand in these relationships. That's crazy. Or where if he wants to be given either special treatment or put on a pedestal. Like even big-headed, egotistical, like, but where it's just it's so damaging. He's gonna fuck up a lot of opportunities for himself like that. Venus quincunx Jupiter. Yeah, that's definitely he using relationships with women for a look. And that could be in more ways than one. So yeah, moving on. I just wanted to address that. Aries South Node people are very violent and mentally unstable creatures. Not all of them, but the thing is, Aries South knows a lot of them then lived hard lives or are people who can be very difficult to deal with. Even if they're not necessarily violent, they have this kind of inherent kind of difficulty about them. They, like I said, they may not take criticism well, or they could be very inconsiderate. Some of them can just straight up be violent. It just is what it is. Or egotistical, or just very just, singular minded. Which makes sense because they're one sign over from Taurus. And Taurus could also be very closed minded, hard headed, even. Uh-oh. You're Aries South Node and you're peaceful as hell. You may be more problematic than you think. Aries South Nodes could also have really big blind spots. I ain't even gonna hold you. But it also depends what house it's in. Like I said, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be literally wild and violent all the time. You could be an asshole. Like I said, or just very selfish, very inconsiderate. Maybe without trying, or just, So that could even manifest in a lot of physical ailments or things. Do you get a lot of headaches? You get the more selfish and individualistic side of it. Yeah. Being too independent. Or just uncooperative. If something isn't what you want, or if it doesn't happen right away, they could be impatient. You get up and you walk away. And it hinders a lot of your relationships with people. These are very, here I am, take it, this is my way of doing things, and this is how, they don't do good with compromising and learning to kind of give and take and deal with other people or accommodate other people, consider other people. But yeah, for some, they can also be very violent. Like I said, the fact that Playboi Carti has that Venus Mars conjunction in Leo and his Mars conjoined the Tauruo, it kind of seals the deal. Seals the deal. So moving on. Moving on, we have, well, depending on what time he was born, he could either be a latter degree Virgo moon or an early degree. Actually, I take that back because the time that I used, this is actually midnight. Yeah. Yeah. This is midnight. So he has to be a Libra moon. At least a Libra moon. If he was a Virgo moon, he would be born on September the 13th at some time. Yeah. Yeah. Or wait, is his did I get his date of birth wrong? Is he born on September 14th or 13th? Because that could make a difference. Did I type his thing in wrong? And I did. That's why. Rectify. Hold on. Give me a second, y'all. Let's see. It shouldn't change it that much. It will change the moon. So let me see how this rectification changes the moon. Let me change it because I'm one date off. Where I get the 14 from then? When it was the 13th. The number 13 also deals with him being kind of weird too. Okay, we still have the Venus Mars conjunction. We still have the in Leo. We still have the Saturn South Node conjunction in Aries. So he is a Virgo moon. Yowzers. Okay, so let's see what's different in terms of how it's aspected. His moon is well, he has his moon conjoined to his sun. And I mean, that could be cool and all. I mean, that could deal with working, that could produce working relationships with women. But it could also create relationships with women where, you know, like I said, it's hard for him to, like, almost like trauma bonds, maybe, if you will. Where you're just always, you may not even really, you could care about that person, but that person can make you very unhappy and you'll still be there, especially with that moon sun conjunction. Problems with living with women. He still has that moon Mercury conjunction, but he doesn't have those other aspects to his moon. That's interesting. But he may also like to be the type to groom women into, like, he gives me the type of dude where it's like he wants to do he might want to do too, but he wants a woman who is like, who mirrors him. She's like the carbon copy of him. With that moon sun conjunction in Virgo. And it's like he might even groom her to be the version of him, a certain version of him. That's interesting. And he probably talks so much shit and he probably be so mean to them. With that moon Mercury conjunction in Virgo. That's like the smart ass, like a smart ass, smart aleck. Like I'm an asshole kind of guy. But it is it's trying in Neptune. So, you know, he might be kind of romantic. Let me see what else he got going on. He has his moon in opposite, excuse me, he has his Mars in opposition to Uranus. That could make somebody very unpredictable when it comes to anger and like controlling their anger as well. So let's go ahead and add that and state that for the record too. Not to mention this opposition can deal with, a man being into some other things. Being into some other things. You know what I'm saying? What, we'll just leave it at that. So he has a lot of different indicators of like everything they said he did. I can tell he did it. The judgmental boyfriend, yes, for sure. I could definitely see him being the judgmental boyfriend. Because you got to keep in mind, Virgo likes the bitch a lot. So now on the more positive end, his sun moon conjunction in Virgo could deal with where like, he feels understood in these relationships. And, Virgo is always either trying to help fix somebody else, usually help trying to fix somebody else's shit. So he probably the type to think he'd be doing the girl a favor by being with her. These are people they're not even really relationship material. They're supposed to be. But, once again, like somebody pointed out with that Chiron in Libra and being a Libra North node, that makes it really hard. Anything else before we go ahead and switch? Yeah. He also has Venus in opposition to Uranus too. That could also be somebody where like they care too much about their friends or like friends getting in the way. There could be like friends getting in the way of their relationship. And once again, not even just friends, I would argue lovers. But where there could be, shit like these are not people who are even, they could even deal with where he's very indifferent to women too. His Venus in opposition to Uranus, or where he can objectify them, or he just doesn't. You see what I'm saying? And sometimes those are men you really do have to look at, because in some weird twisted way they take out a lot of that psychological upset, you know what I'm saying, on other people, on women, the women they're with. Venus opposition to Uranus, like where he can just be cold, or like because Venus Mars conjunction in Leo could be very loving. So it kind of even intuitively I get like narcissistic, like I said, love bombing, might show her a lot of attention. She might be the apple. A woman might be the apple of his eye. He'll gas her up, and then completely like deject her with that opposition to Uranus, Venus opposition to Uranus. And like I said, that Mars Uranus opposition could just make him, like when you arguing with him, like I said, he might be a drama queen. Venus, a Mars conjunction in Leo, very much a drama queen, very much reactionary. And where it's just that wow factor, Mars, in opposition to Uranus, that's like anything can happen and he could just spaz. Especially with his Mars conjoined to Tauro. Like he doesn't know how to control himself. Venus is very unhappy in Virgo. It can't focus on the things that it likes. They're not hardwired to think about and focus on what they like in a person or someone. They can be hard. They can be hard to please or satisfy. Always bitching, but they can also be very attentive. It just depends. Being around wealthy, accomplished people constantly motivates me to improve my life. I know that's right. Everybody in their mama's blood be the most insecure. That is true. Virgo, just like Capricorn, one of its biggest fears is like being embarrassed and like being viewed as incompetent. You, I'm like the only one that thinks he's doing this Satan thing for, oh, like the Satan persona. Let's see what it deals with that. Like his like the devil, like whatever the fuck he got going on. Like I don't know, like emo rock star vibes. I mean, like I said, that Mars Venus conjunction in opposition to Uranus could definitely deal with where the way that he creates his image, where it's like he does shot jock stuff. Because I don't even really see anything in his chart that's indicative of him being like a true grandeur. Like now, Uzi's chart is different. Like you could kind of see him. Like I could see him being like a little emo guy. You know, the pain in my heart. I want to kill my mom. I want to kill my dad. I want to kill my grandma. I don't really see that for him. It just for him it gives like shock jock. I'm so different. I'm so counterculture. I do things that like shock people all the time. Yeah. So I'm gonna read the comments and then we can move on. You feel like he's copying Uzi? I can see that. You know, that Venus, once again, Leo conjunction, Venus Mars Leo conjunction can definitely make a person a copycat. Also, those two oppositions to or the opposition that Uranus is making to his Venus and Leo and Mars could also deal with where he's disloyal. He's just somebody you can't trust, even as a friend. Like these are people who might be only loyal to themselves, which makes sense because he's an Aries South node. Like I said, he's naturally programmed to be selfish, even though he should not be. He should be doing the work to, you know, evolve as a person. But something tells me choking out a pregnant woman doesn't, it's not in alignment with that. Your new supervisor looks like Jesse Smollett with dreadlocks. Vamp energy. Vampire, but instead of stuck in blood, he's Ellie, please get off the live right now. You need to go to timeout. That girl said instead of sucking blood, he's sucking dick. Suck your dick. That's what the vampire says. Uh, excuse me. Surface in the wrong motherfuckers. I'm starting to think that some men will intentionally get a woman pregnant to trap and humble her. Virgos can be uptight. Bree said Virgos act like they got a stick up their butt. My sister is an Aries, so I know the selfishness is real. But yeah, Virgos can be very uptight. Very, very uptight. Okay, so what's next, y'all? What else we got? Oh, Tommy Lee, did y'all see that video of the fight? Okay, this news just in. Virgo men can be sassy, actually. They can be very sassy. And because they have that mercurial thing, they can actually make a man very fluid, you know? Very similar to Gemini, Virgo does have this theme of like fluidity, which I do see in the charts of men who are capable of like cross-dressing, or where they could be very feminine. They can have like an effeminate flair. So this is where Playboi Carti gets his effeminate flair from, that Sun Moon conjunction in Virgo. Then he has it's a wide conjunction, but it's still a conjunction. That Mercury is conjoined to his sun and his moon. That could be him dressing, wearing female clothes, or, being in like kind of compromising positions. So that's a large part of it too. Large part. But y'all make it rain, man, like you dig that. So what did y'all think? Did y'all see Tommy just get her head minked around like that? That girl got minked. And I kind of knew Tommy was going to lose. And I know everybody's saying that now, but I really knew that lady was going to lose the fight, just because Tommy gives her entire behavior has been a scream for attention. It's been a cry for help. I did a natal chart reading on her. This lady has substance problems, allegedly. Tommy gives wild, drunken bar fight. And, PSA to all my street girlies, you could be a good street fighter, Chung Lee style, but it doesn't necessarily always translate into like organized fighting. And honestly, if you're gonna be a bully, because a lot of you bitches be trying to be bullies, but y'all don't work. All you do is eat flaming hot Cheetos and drink Casamigos all day. That's not the diet of champions. That's not the diet of a bitch that I'm scared to get in the ring with. These are bitches who might pop off on you at the club and, on some, when you think about like reality TV, like, yeah, you got security there and they only let you fight but so much. But boxing, you need to go rounds. You need to have agility. You need endurance. You need some type of structure, because it ain't no windmilling and trying to, like, a lot of the shit she was doing, it was like, babes, get that out the ring. You just making yourself look even dumber and even crazier. And then on top of that, you tired. You know what I'm saying? She probably got God knows what in her system at that moment. Even in the training video, it looked like she stumbled in one of her little training videos that they did for like the promo. But Natalie Nunn, she not Krishan Rock, but from what I know to Natalie Nunn, let's look up their charts. I'm gonna look up Natalie's chart, because I want to see what made Natalie win this fight. I want to see what made Natalie, what in her chart could point to her winning this fight. You know what I mean? But Natalie she's worked out. Because there was a point in time where she like had her little fitness thing like on the ground, and like she would post about it. So she was like doing challenges, like workout challenges, and point is she got some strength. And honestly, that's what makes Krishan a really good fighter. I mean, she's way more agile than Natalie Nunn, but Krishan, because of her track and field background and her very heavy athletic background, she's the type to, be very quick on her toes, quick on her feet. She got the stamina to and the strength and the agility to get off in that ass. Tommy was just all over the place, and now you look crazy and you embarrassed yourself. Now, some people say, like, what you call it, it was fixed. Possibly, I know the greater picture at large is that this is supposed to really launch Zeus network into a different stratosphere. But I will say Natalie Nunn is a Capricorn, and Capricorns are willing to think of, Capricorn as being one of those signs that could absolutely be willing to sell their souls to the devil. Because Capricorn wants status. That's why she cares so much and she clings so hard to being like, I run LA. Capricorns want to be in control of stuff. They want to be in charge. That Capricorn energy is the HBIC. It puts me in the mindset of Tiffany Pollard. Now, I like Tiffany New York Pollard way more than Natalie Nunn, but both are Capricorns and they both kind of have that quality to them, that element to them, where it's like, I know I'm in charge of these bitches. Capricorns, dark-sided Capricorn will act like God died and left them in charge. Yeah. Yeah. Like divine birthright. Leos can be like that too, but Leos are usually really popular with people, Like Natalie would be more likable, or at least more like, if she was like a Leo. But that Capricorn shit don't, like, you can be hated. They just want to be in charge of something or somebody, or control something or somebody. But she's very focused. Those type of people who are very calculative and very methodical are really good when it comes to, like getting shit done, training, discipline. Although training is more Virgo. Let me look up Natalie's chart, y'all. Because it just didn't surprise me that she won. Because you up against, once again, Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee gives unhinged, auntie with substance problems. And she's also very animated. And Tommy's a Gemini. Geminis be having mouthpieces, So at the very least, talk a good game. Talk a lot of shit. Shit, she talked about Chris Brown baby. My Cancer descendant energy stops me from being a mean, cold-hearted bitch. Yeah, Capricorn is all about getting to the bag. That's why she's always, get to the bag. Let's get to the bag. But I'm like, the only person that's really getting to the bag is her in production. The girls are left struggling and scrambling. Because y'all really be, for nothing, Capricorn is all about exploitation. Capricorn will exploit whoever they need to exploit in order to get where they want to go. And that means even a 38-year-old, pillhead who is destructing before the public's very eyes. Excuse me. Natalie Nunn, let me type up her birthday. She was born December 26th, 1984. And usually, being in charge of shit makes them feel powerful. Oh, she's from Oakland. Interesting. I didn't know Natalie Nunn was from Oakland. Cancers can be very selfish. They can be very selfish, very manipulative, very controlling, but it's they usually appease to um emotions to like emotional blackmail, crying in your face, playing in your face. You like Rolly, she knows how to move for a big girl. That's a real bitch with hands. Jasmine said, I'm a Cancer. I'm already on game. Okay, so Natalie Nunn, she's a Capricorn sun. So she has her sun at the 7th degree, conjoined to Neptune. Okay. Now that could deal with her working in like film, entertainment. Now I heard somebody said she was a scammer. Now I ain't gonna cap. This could, because conjunctions can be positive or negative, but that can deal with her doing bad business. I ain't even gonna hold you. Not to mention that she has Moon square Neptune too. That Pisces Moon square Neptune. That could be somebody who could be doing some shady stuff, or just not really like dependable, not reliable, or like I said, just don't do good business. You know. Not to mention she's also a Scorpio South Node. So it's like with Saturn conjoined to the South Node, these are people who can be shady as hell, willing to do all kinds of things for money. And they can have or not necessarily just money, but power. But she could also be somebody too who I feel like, when Scorpio's on the South Node, these are people who can have a very predatory kind of energy to them. Now, the flip side of this could be people who are very susceptible to predatory energies. So, whatever, if that's you, just kind of pick whatever applies. But for what it's worth, I feel like Natalie Nunn kind of, I mean, and it could be both really, but these are people who are supposed to not, they're supposed to learn how to not, you know, succumb to the temptation of using their power over other people. Also reinforced with her being a Capricorn. So it's just like she may be somebody who could be like very jealous hearted, even with that Saturn, conjunction to the South Node, where she likes like to monitor people. That's like a person with a very monitoring kind of spirit, or where people are monitoring you, opportunistic. She could be a really nasty person. But as it pertains to this fight, because I'm getting besides the point, I'm not going to cap that that Capricorn sun helps her out a great deal. Let me see what her Mars is doing. She has Mars sextile Neptune. Her Mars is at the 3rd degree of Pisces. Something else, Mars and Pisces may not be the best for business, for work. And it's squaring her Chiron. Oh yeah, she's getting over on people in some type of way. That's scamming, finesse, things not being what they are, dating con artists, or her being a con artist herself. But she also has her Mars trying to Pluto. That could help her out in terms of like training for a fight, strengthening herself, like weightlifting. Like getting her endurance up. So that makes sense. I hope I'll feel better. Thank you. Some people love destroying their image or reputation for attention. And her Saturn conjoined to that Scorpio South Node can deal with where she's created or earned a reputation that could make her somebody that's very much hated. You think the fight was staged? I don't know with that Mars and Pisces squaring Chiron and Gemini, because that could deal with a televised fight, but where something is not right about it. If I'm being honest, I don't know, y'all. I'm kind of on board with the fact that it could have been staged too. Although it still made Tommy look crazy. And, more than one thing could still be true at once. That's very interesting. All right, y'all. So I got through a couple charts. I'm gonna do a DDG and Howley synastry reading soon. That is the plan. Okay. And per usual, if you have any requests, anything you would like to see from me, feel free to email me at astroworld@gmail.com, astrowerld@gmail.com. I do have some very limited slots available. I'm in the state of mind these days where I have other things going on, so I'm really not doing as many readings. So once I fill up, I just kind of fill up or max out, if you will. So yeah, if you are interested in taking advantage, go ahead and hit me up. And y'all enjoy y'all's nights. Cause I'm finna go to bed. I'm beat, I'm spent, and I'm tired. I appreciate y'all for showing up and hanging out with me on the live. Once again, if you haven't hit that like button, go ahead and hit the like button. So I love y'all, and I'll holler at y'all later.